I think that a lot of times advisors, to quote the book again, The Gap Game, live in the gap. And the reason why I say that is I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled and always wanting more, right? And that's not a bad thing. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to bring guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your coach, Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. And before we get started on a very interesting topic, I want to first off say I want you all to have a great Memorial Day weekend here, 2024. Be safe, be with your family, friends, loved ones, and enjoy life, right? So with that said, I want to bring up something that I don't think we really talked a lot about, at least inside these conversations, which is, is there really such a thing as being insecure about your success? So in other words, do advisors suffer from success insecurity? And the reason why I bring that up is that, and I'm going to reference a book a little bit here and there called The Gap and the Gain by Ben Hardy, Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Great book, by the way. Highly, highly recommend it. And, I've seen in my coaching career, which now exceeds 30 years, that, look, there's always going to be another goal, right? So you go from, and I might put it in a bit of a timeline here. The first several years of your career, you're just trying to survive, right? You're trying to validate this is a good place for you to be, things like that. Then the next phase of your career, you end up in what I call the sustainability phase, right, where you're making money, you're not going to fail out of the business. Economically, you're in an okay place. You're not where you want to be, but you can continue to play. And then the next phase is what I call the real success phase, where you're profitable, you're elevating, things like that. And I want to talk about that third phase. By the way, that third phase can last decades in most cases. It dawned on me recently that I think that a lot of times advisors, to quote the book again, The Gap Game, live in the gap. And the reason why I say that is I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled and always wanting more, right? And that's not a bad thing. But a lot of you, or at least a lot of advisors, even though economically they shouldn't worry about anything, right, relative to normal people, which we'll talk about that in a moment, still do not give themselves credit for accomplishing great things. And by the way, inside this conversation, I don't have a line that says, well, it's really like a 7-figure versus 6. I don't play that success game. I think as long as you're making your game is making you the money that you want to make to live the lifestyle you want plus a little bit, and you're growing it. That is my pure definition of success. It is not a top 5 list, none of that stuff. I could care less about that stuff. It doesn't. By the way, sidebar conversation. I have coached in my career many Barron advisor, and I will tell you, to make a lot of money, do not think just because they make a lot of money they're happy, they're fulfilled. Usually, it's quite the opposite. Just keep that in mind. So when we think about, this concept of success and security, it's about instead of approaching the game like, what am I lacking? Why don't we approach the game grateful that we have the opportunity to play the game, and also with a commitment to continue to grow it, right? Because the one thing that I'm very, very clear on after my sabbatical very recently is, and I call it the game because I think it's a game. I think, they're all saying the game of life, the game of business. So I'd say, let's just adopt those, because that's I think if you approach this as a game, it's actually easier to play versus this life or death kind of struggle. If you really think about it, what is the goal of the game? What is winning? What does winning mean, right? Because if you think about it, if you break it down, right? So let's say, hey, the game for me right now is to do X amount of revenue 2024. Okay, great. And let's just say, fast forward, you accomplished that. Well, what's next? You set another goal, right? And so, in other words, do you ever really win a championship when you're playing? No, you have a series of wins. What is the end goal? And here's the thing. If you think about it, if you're climbing the mountain, what is the summit? My view is like, hey, I'm always going to be climbing the mountain, and I'm never going to hit the summit. You know why? Because the summit to me means death. The summit is where the casket is. I never want to reach the summit, right? I always want to be climbing. I always want to be playing the game. But here's the thing. You do not want to delay your gratitude, your fulfillment until X, right? Like as soon as like I said, maybe not the first 3 to 5 years, right, where you're surviving, right? And maybe you play with this a little bit the next several years as you're sustainable. But once you're in the success game, right, to me, it's about living your best life possible. And that probably means for a lot of you, getting clear on getting enough downtime to do the things in life that you want to do. Now, I'm going to put this in 2 different frames. Frame number 1, you have little kids. So I hear this all the time. Well, Joe, I really can't do the sabbatical thing, my kids, myself. I say, great, no problem. Then spend time with your kids. When I was growing my business, my coaching practice, I did not spend a lot of time with my kids. My biggest regret number 1A in my personal regrets in my life, that I had to, because of the nature of what I was doing, had to do this the way I had to do it, right? And it's a regret. So what I'm saying is that, hey, if you're in that success place and you've got kids that are not off to college yet, be the best dad or mother you can. Enjoy it, right? Because they won't be there forever. I will share a story real quick. One of my dear clients, Tommy, years ago, this is probably going back now over a decade, came to me one day inside of a conversation, goes, I think I'm going to take the next 2 years as like a little bit of a mini sabbatical. And we're like, 2 years, and it's like, dude, you're like in your late 30s, man. You're just hitting the peak. Like, why do you want to do this? He goes, my boys will be going off to college in 2 years. This is my last time to really be a dad. And I'm not going to abandon my business. He has a good team. It wasn't like the business was going to get shut down or anything. But he says, look, my focus for the next 24 months will be my boys. And that's what I'm going to do. And I will then come back hell-bent on making up for that lost time plus them. So great. I don't know too many human beings would do that. And he's highly successful, transcended this industry, doing great things in the nonprofit world. And I think right now he's probably in his mid-40s. It's pretty wild. But that's what this game gives you the opportunity to do if you want to take advantage of it. So if you've got young children, be the best dad, be the best mom. If your children are grown and you're definitely in that success game, Well, man, how do I want to say this? Like life is your oyster. Like the only limiting factors that you have on really living the ultimate version of your life is you. And let me walk you through this a little bit. There was a time in my game where I thought having 3 weeks off, like I'm talking about like sabbatical, 3-4 weeks, would never be possible, right? And I did my first one last summer, 3 weeks. And we did our latest one, end of April, beginning of May, for like 3.5 weeks. And guess what? It was great. Highly recommend it. Go attack a bucket list item, right? If you think about it, what are the 2 resources you need to go live life at its best? 2 real resources, economics and time. Without those 2 main ingredients, you can't really do very much. Reality. And if you subscribe to my concept or my theory or my belief that, hey, why retire? Like, why do we have to play society's game at 60, 65, even 70, right? I mean, most of my clients that I work with personally today, I will tell you, by and large, that they all have declared they have no retirement date. And they all plan to definitely work past their 70th birthday inside this game. So if that is the approach we're going to take, doesn't it make sense to maybe have some mini retirements along the way, some windows of time that you can devote to attacking life the way that you want to? Whether that's trips, experiences, I don't know, maybe just staying home for 3, like whatever it happens to be for you. And have those experiences. Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. So you have the economics and the time. You know what's the number one issue why most advisors won't do it? Permission. Not from anybody else, from themselves. It's like, what will people think? What will my team think? What will my clients think? And I'll tell you right now, for those of my clients who have now gone down this journey of sabbatical, clients are fine with it. They encourage it. You deserve it. You've got the right team, they'll support it, right? If you're a great leader. So again, it's all that head trash that gets in the way and unnecessarily gets in the way. So I just want to challenge everyone here again, who's, depending on where you are in our journey here, that if you're in the success world and you're there, make it the ultimate version for yourself. I think that's really, really important. If you're in the sustainable place, start playing with a little vacation here and there, longer weekends, like enjoy life. Because again, there's no reason to do crazy sacrifice so that you can retire at 60 or 65. That's not this game. Okay, it's just not. And then if you're listening or watching me and you're in the first 3 to 5 years and hey, hang in there. Trust me, it will get really, really, really better for you. Just don't quit, right? Because failure, we talk about success. Let's talk about failure for a second. The only way you fail in this game is by quitting the game. I mean, and I'll say it the way I want to say it. I know if you're watching on YouTube, my eyes are all over the place. I'm trying to formulate how I want to frame it to you. You could be a good advisor and an okay, decent business dude or person, and be slightly dysfunctional, if not maybe more than slightly dysfunctional, and not organized and so on. Maybe a little bit of a hot mess. And you can still make 6 figures in this game. I've seen it. I've talked to them. Advisors, there'll be no names here, of course, but advisors who have been in this game for 20, 25 years, and their take homes like $200,000, $300,000 a year. And they're a hot mess. I don't know how else to describe it. Like it early in my career blew me away how some of these people were making the money they were making. Like in spite of themselves. And so it just shows you the power and the leverage this game has. So if you're functional and organized and committed, 7 figures, it's there, 100%. And I'll say this because I think some of you need to hear this. I have watched hundreds of advisors in my career go from 6 to 7 figures and then obviously elevate from there. There's nothing magical about it. There's not like a new club you get a key to. It doesn't work. It's most likely, quite frankly, in my experiences, kind of a hollow victory. There's like empty. Like, oh, okay. No, like the world still goes on. So my point is that don't make this as big, because the bigger you make it, the harder it becomes. Like you make it like the white whale, right, in the story. It's not that. It's just a number. It just is. And most of you will exceed that as long as you don't quit. And I think that's the beauty of our game. 2 other things that I really, really believe are critically important. Okay. Number 1, only person that defines your success is you. Don't get caught up in and look, I know, I've got a whole plethora of people that are subscribers, from the pure independent RA to the bank advisor and quite frankly, everything in between. Here's what I'm going to say. It is a terrible idea to get caught up in rankings, making lists, because at the end of the day, you don't control those things, right? Because you can kill it one year and somebody kills it better than you. Did that mean you had a bad year? No. It just means somebody had a much better year than you. So what? The goal here, and kind of this is what I want to kind of leave you guys with. I'm going to give you kind of 3 scenarios, all right? And I've talked about this to some of my personal clients. I'm going to give you kind of 3 numbers, like growth numbers, okay? And then I want to walk you through scenarios. And I want you to think about it over like decades, so we're on the same page. So scenario number 1 is that you, the advisor, the business owner, the leader, declare, I want to grow my business at 20% a year, every year, at minimum, like average over time, right? Okay. So I said, okay, great, we can do that. I've got clients that do it. I know exactly what the recipe is, how it needs to work. I will say that's a lot of work. I will say that it's doable, but it's going to get grindy. It's going to feel like, hey, you're pushing on it. It won't be a ton of fun. It'll be rewarding. I mean, the bank account's cool, right? So the 20%, hey, a lot of energy, effort, great economic outcome. There's a bit of a price to pay along the way. Not as many sabbaticals, vacation, family time, taking care of you. So it's economically rewarding, but it may not hit the fulfillment box, the gratitude box, and just, the happy box, okay? Scenario number 2. You grow 15% a year, and it's a lot better. There's like a pace to it, right? It's uncomfortable, but manageable. I can still do a lot of things in my life I want to do, right? And that's cool, and I can do that for decades. Number 3, 10% a year. And I'm talking about compounding, by the way. That game is fun, fits well. I can get to enjoy all aspects of my life. Totally sustainable. I'm happy, fulfilled. I don't wake up like stressed. I've got a good cadence to my world. I'm home early enough to be with my family. I enjoy other things in life, have hobbies, interests, stuff like that. And I can rock that out for another 20, 30 years. Here's the interesting part. I would challenge you all to do this, by the way. Take whatever your income, let's not do the gross thing, let's do it on income. So what comes to your home, to you, I want you to take it, and I want you to do it over 10 and 20 years. Take your number today, 20% compounded growth over 10 years, and then over 20 years. I want you to take your number today, 15% compounded growth year over year, 10 year, 20 year. Then I want you to take your number today, 10% year over year, done. Obviously, there'll be a range in there at the end, right? And I'm giving you 20, it could be 30 years. I mean, whenever, I'm not saying whenever you think you're going to drop dead, but whenever you think you're going to be done with the game. Okay. Here's when I've done this with every one of my clients. 20% is really cool. That's a big, excuse my language, a big ass number, right? 15%, big number. 10%, big number. But now let's overlay happiness and fulfillment and satisfaction on top of that. The 10% game is a fun game. Like, man, I want to rock that for 30 years. The other two, economically nice, but are you going to have as much fun? And that's what I'm saying about this success insecurity. Like, what is success? My simple definition, you're growing the game at the rate you want to grow it at. You want, not compared to anybody else. You're enjoying, not saying there's not challenging days. I'm nothing utopian here. But by and large, you enjoy what you do. You enjoy the game. Yeah, there's always challenges, but by and large, yeah, I really enjoy what I do. I also get to do it on my terms. I'm not sacrificing my health, my sanity, my personal relationships. And I feel really, really sustainable. Like the way I'm rocking, I can rock for several decades. That to me is true success. Not this, oh man, like I said, this is in the success game. So it's not, startup, this is not survival, sustainable. We're talking about the success side. Once you're in that area, it's about doing it on your terms. Because again, if you're going to never retire, and by the way, the last thing I'd say, and I want to, this gone a little bit longer than I thought. I would encourage you all, and hopefully you have this, to look at your own personal financial plan, and instead of maybe applying what you would consider to be a traditional retirement window, take yourself out to 70 or 75. Take your income out. Take your savings out that far. Whether you're 20%, 15%, or 10%, guess what? You're pretty well damn good. And maybe we need to kind of exhale a little bit and not try and rush to get to a destination. But maybe, just maybe, we should reframe and reassess and make sure that we're enjoying the journey. So I want to thank you all for listening or watching this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Again, have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you all next Friday. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.